Okay, there we are. Okay, there the first slide gives you information about the evolution of the number of assurance package that you have submitted and the amount of expenditure which was declared. Of course, the evolution is positive. Also, maybe not enough in terms of expenditure declared yet, and there are two negative aspects concerning this slide. Is first of all that there is still one program which has not yet submitted payment claims since the beginning of the programming period. And the second negative information is that one program that had declared expenditure during the accounting year 2019-2020, following the results of an audit of by DG Regio, had to withdraw all the expenditure because we found serious deficiencies in the management and control system. So even though the slide shows 75 assurance package submitted, one of them is empty. So in practice, it means the same number as last year, 74. Okay, the next slide. The next slide gives you a summary of the audit opinion reported by the audit authorities and by the commission services on the three elements. The first element is on the accounts, and there nothing special to be reported. All 75 set of accounts which have been submitted have been accepted or are being accepted by the Commission. You know that the deadline is 31st of May. So those that have not yet received the notification that the accounts are accepted will receive it in the coming days. Concerning the legality and irregularity, you see that there is a little discrepancy between what is reported by the EC and what is reported by the audit authorities. One is concerning this OP, which had to withdraw the expenditure, where the Commission considered a disclaimer of opinion concerning the legality and irregularity. And one is concerning a program which had a residual error rate above 2%, and where the audit authority, despite this residual error rate, gave an unqualified opinion, and the Commission considered that it should be qualified with significant impact opinion. And then concerning the audit opinion on the management and control systems, there you see that there are no major differences for the, I would say, the serious situations of qualified with significant impact and adverse. There is one a little difference between unqualified and qualified with moderate impact, where the Commission services have assessed 5 programs qualified with moderate impact on top of the 6 that were reported by the audit authority, and probably because the Commission services is taking into account not only the error rate which is reported, but also the results of the system audits. Okay, if we go to the next slide, the next slide gives you a picture of the error rate and the residual error rate as reported by the EC and as reported by the audit authorities. You see that for the error rates, there are no differences between what is reported by the audit authorities and what is reported by the EC. And also for the residual, the error rates reported by the audit authorities are largely confirmed, or at least in the same category, by the EC. What is important is to note that this year there are 8 programs, you see, between 2 and 5% and between 5 and 10%, which have reported error rates above 2%. And that means that this program, on top of the individual corrections that have been identified during the audit of operation, had to apply flat rate corrections. 7 of them have already applied, and for one of them we will see later on, the program authorities have not yet applied. And you see it there, residual error rate between 2 and 5%. One program has not applied these financial corrections to bring the residual error rate to 2%. What it means in financial terms, it means that the program authorities of these 7 + 1 programs had to apply extrapolated financial corrections amounting to 1.5 million euros globally. It's not a lot, but still it's money that could be saved for other purposes. And what is the solution to avoid this in the future? Of course, the first solution is to identify the nature of the irregularities and to correct or to take corrective measures to avoid these irregularities in the future. But there is another solution, which you will see in the next slide. Is the other solution, which will be applicable for the new programming period, or for the programming period 2021-2027, is the common sampling for all ETC programs. You see there historical data of the error rates starting in 2014 of the ETC programs community, and you see that since 2014, now we don't have statistics of previous years, but at least from this 2014, we see that it is constantly and well below 2%. It means that when the programs will be part of this common sample, the individual irregularities, or the, let's call it, small accidents for specific programs, like we had for 8 programs this year, will be diluted in the error rate of the overall community, and in principle there will be no need to apply extrapolated financial corrections. Only the individual corrections will have to be corrected. If we go to the next slide, we will see some data on irregularities. So we made an analysis of the data that you have reported in SFC in the Annex 4. I think the trend is more or less in line with the previous years. We still have, compared to the ERDF, a higher proportion of ineligible expenditure, ineligible projects, irregularities related to ineligible expenditure and ineligible project. You see it's 10% above the average ERDF for this type of irregularities. And it is also on accounting and calculation errors at project level. We see that the proportion is approximately 5% above the average for ETC, and this is compensated for a lower proportion in other type of irregularities like state aid, sound financial management, and some other categories like revenue generating projects and so on, which this type of irregularities you don't have in ETC, or you have it to a minimal proportion. So this is in terms of number of irregularities, in terms of frequency. And the next slide gives you the picture in terms of amounts. And surprisingly, this year, for the ETC, we have a very high percentage of irregularities related to public procurement. If you look at the presentation of last year, you will see that the percentage is much higher, and we will see later on in another slide to be the evolution during the last 3 years. So, and we analyzed the data, and this high proportion of public procurement irregularities is linked with 5 single irregularities on 5 operations. 2 irregularities are related to the absence of publication of contract notice. 2 are due to the modification of contract during implementation. And 1 irregularity is due to the use of selection criteria which are not proportionate in line with the subject matter of the contract. So these 5 irregularities represent approximately 65% of the overall irregularities in public procurement. And because of these irregularities, this year proportion is going up. In the positive aspect of this slide is the decrease in percentage for ineligible expenditure, ineligible project. So despite still a quite high number of irregularities, in percentage or in the financial impact is lower than in previous years. If we can go to the next slide. So there you see the evolution for ETC for the last 3 accounting periods. And as I said, this year remarkable is this increase of irregularities in public procurement, which has gone from 14% last year to almost 22% this year. This is compensated by a reduction of the irregularities in missing supporting information or documentation, 5% decrease, and also to some extent the decrease on accounting and calculation errors, a decrease of 2.4%. But you see that there is a tendency to these two irregularity types, there is a tendency to a reduction, which is positive because we think that this type of irregularities are easily detectable by the first level controllers, while we can say that state aid and public procurement rules are maybe cumbersome, or at least that is always the justification that is given for the missing supporting information or accounting and calculation errors. We are of the view that this should be easily detected by the first level controllers. And if we go to the next slide, we see the same evolution for the 3 last years. And here you see the evolution for public procurement, which is even more remarkable than in a number of irregularities this year compared to last year. And as I said, the positive aspect is this decrease in the two irregularity types, accounting and calculation errors, and project ineligible expenditure, and missing supporting information, which represents only 2% this year compared to 19% last year. Okay.